Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Follow Your Path channel. Because is there anything better in life than to find your unique path that which created you, gave to you a blueprint that is within you, that is the most fulfilling and joyful and authentically you than anything else? Isn't it nice to start to follow that instead of just continuing on with some kind of traumatized ego path where your dreams and visions have nothing to do with actually who you are, and they're just some form of wanting to please your parents or fit in with society, whatever it is that's just not you at all. This channel is all about connecting to what's in here and letting that start to guide you. And I can tell you that there are a lot of people on this planet that are saying yes to that. There are a lot of people on this planet that are having the courage to go into the unknown and face their fears, face the creations that they have created themselves based on illusions, and they have to let it all fall apart. And it's vulnerable, it's not easy, but in every sense of life, it is worth every moment of doing that. Because if you don't, you will go to your deathbed one day. And by the way, there is no death. It's a transformation. It's one form of energy to another, one dimension to another. And if that triggers you, I'm sorry, but that's what it is. Okay? But you'll get to that point, right, where you got to let go of the body. And then you'll be like, fuck. Because the density of your body is starting to go away. So the truth comes in that consciousness starts to flood in, and you're like, oh wow, I can see things for what they are. None of that was me. I did it all out of avoidance. I did it all from a place of fear. I wish I had more time, right? We hear these stories so often, but that's not you. That's, if you're watching this channel, that's not you. So let's clear all this out now. Let's get rid of the debris, the ego debris, so that we can be who we came here to be. Okay? This transmission today is something that I've been feeling really strongly on, and I want to highlight this through a story. Let's do a little storytelling, okay? This will help to paint a picture of some of these things that I've been saying, just coming hot out of the gate. Okay, so something I've thought about before. Why is it that people say that they want a better life? Why do they say they want to be healed? Why do they say they want to be authentic? Why do they say that they want to live their dream? They want to live life on their terms. And then they go back asleep. They don't do anything about it. They stay in the old illusion, right? And they just jump back and forth between pleasure and pain. So why is it that we would say all these things and then not follow through on them? A question I used to contemplate a lot. So let's go through that, because you might be one of those people that is not being a full fuck yes to your dream, to your vision, to yourself, honoring that which is inside of you, the kingdom of heaven. Can you is don't you get curious about that? Wondering what's in here, wondering what that could be if it was completely free and you were allowing yourself to be authentically you, like what that could create in the world, what your life would look like if you didn't have those limitations, if you weren't in that same familiar struggle, if you weren't in that just perpetual loop of suffering, and you were in a flow with life, you were in a dance. And if you're listening, you know that that's available, right? But you will have to have a reckoning where you realize you've been doing this to yourself. And I digress. Let's go back to let's get into the story just to highlight why people say that they want these things and then they don't do them. And really, what I'm about to highlight here through this story and this character is the arc of what we're what we're dealing with and why there's so much suffering on this planet and why people are having such a hard time. Okay, so for this story, our character is going to be named Erick. So Erick, he finds himself at a serious crossroads in his life. Every day, it seems like all he can think about are his problems, how unfulfilled he is at his job, his relationships aren't great, his intimate relationship is just a nightmare, and his mind and his emotions are all over the place. But to the external world, Erick looks like he's got it all together. He doesn't show these emotions. He internalizes everything. He's a good faker. Great poker face. Maybe his eyes can't hide it, but he's got a good poker face. So his nervous system is in a consistent state of fight or flight. He can barely hold it together. He's constantly saying to himself every day he wakes up, I gotta fix this. But then he just gets put on the same thought track and he does the same shit with the same level of dissatisfaction, which is actually growing. Okay. Now, Erick is what's happening is he's experiencing a breakdown of this identity that is not who he is. It's cracking at the seams, but he doesn't know what's happening. And he's trying to hold on. He's trying to figure out what's wrong with him. He's in this place of I'm not okay, right? So let's look at Erick on a deeper level. Almost all that he believes himself to be, his perception of the world, his relationship that he has with himself through a daily inner dialogue, the inner narrative that he thinks is him. All of that is formed in his childhood. And he is creating and playing it out with different characters and different circumstances and different things from childhood, of course. But he's in that same level of consciousness, that where that false character got created, okay, which is the ego. So he is, if he looks at himself in truth, he can realize that he is simply a conglomeration of belief systems that were imposed on him by mom, dad, teacher, minister, uh, society, whatever authority figures were in his life as a child. And they were the ones who told him how to think, how to behave, who he should be, imposing their model of the world on him. Okay. And at some point, his authenticity got surrendered for survival, for fitting in, being accepted. And he unconsciously lives his life from a place of avoidance. Don't get hit, don't stand out, don't act up, don't upset anybody. If you sin, you're going to hell. You must fit in. And he loses himself in his true self, in this identity, right? He becomes sucked into the little me lens, the little me headset, which is again the ego, identity, mind. And not only that, he's a grown man, he's an adult that doesn't realize that his emotional patterns that keep him enslaved, because emotions are the most powerful force in the universe, energy and motion. That's our ability to create, and we were never taught how to work with those, how to regulate those, and how to use them to create the lives that we actually want. His emotional patterns from 7 years old to roughly 14, 15, teenager-esque time period, those are tied to belief systems from childhood. And they got reinforced in those emotional patterns because they're so strong when we're teenagers. And that becomes your emotional body signature, right? Again, tied to those beliefs that were tied to the wounds, that were tied to, I'm never going to feel that again. I'm not okay. I'm not as smart as them. I'll never be good enough, right? And then your body is translating that through the chemistry. And so we wonder why we have so many psychological issues, health issues. We have very damaged emotional bodies, psychological bodies, and it all comes from that childhood period. So, Erick, his quiet desperation grows. The weight on his shoulder gets heavier and heavier. The overwhelm gets more intense. The self help tips aren't getting him anywhere. The talk therapy isn't really getting him very far at all. He reverts to his go to avoidant behaviors and his vices like getting high, watching porn, playing video games, doom scrolling, workaholism, you name it. So let's take a pivot here because there might be some people that are relating to this on some level. Even though I know a lot of you listening are on the path of spiritual growth and knowing who you are. This is Erick's basically going through and is about to enter a dark night of the soul. So he's on the precipice of a massive inner evolution, a spiritual awakening. He's going to that stage like I've talked about before, where he's the caterpillar going into the cocoon to become the goo, which will then, as we know, turn into the butterfly. What he doesn't realize is that 95% of his life experience, his thoughts, and his emotions, and therefore his actions and behaviors are operating at the subconscious level. So even though we say we want freedom, even though we say we want all of these nice things, our actions are not in congruence with that because the fear kicks in, the limitation program kicks in, and when we start to expand, a lot of times we will succumb to that old programming, right? It's the thermostat goes off to your ego mind. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. He's venturing, she's venturing outside of the normal parameters. Like we gotta reel that back. And that reeling back will come in the form of emotions, which are tight, fears, limiting beliefs. Who am I to do this? God wants me to be poor. I'm a sinner. Whatever that is, it starts to pull you back into that old identity that you are so familiar with and have been playing out for so long. And now we are at a point where people are so desperate, right? They're so desperate that, and what's been the model in society? Go to a doctor, get diagnosed, get put on medication, which lowers your vibration, which numbs you to feeling the emotions that have to be felt. Because those emotions, if they're not felt and they're suppressed, um, you're not going to be able to clear them out. They're never going to get clear. And if you're numbed and not feeling anything, you can't evolve. You're never going to know who you are. You're just going to be some numbed out, half-assed version of yourself that's like in zombie mode. And this is why so many people are getting off of their medications right now because that intuitive mechanism is kicking in and activating in their DNA because the light that's coming in onto the planet right now, the solar flares, the energy of that, and then also this era that we're shifting into, as I've talked about before, the Aquarian age. We're going into a new epic of the human story, one where we are guided by our intuition, one where we know who we are, one where we are one with the Creator. We recognize our oneness. We're moving up from the lower animal nature into the heart chakra, where it's truth. And so all the distortions go away. And there's a reclaiming of the self, which is not, which will no longer be based in the fear, traumatized, separated, fragmented ego. Okay. So I'll give you an example of this. When I did, and shout out to the person in the comment sections that said something like, I don't take advice or guidance from a drug addict. And this was a video that I shared, one of my ayahuasca stories or one of my mushroom stories. And to that, I say, blessings, beautiful human. This channel is not meant for you, and you didn't receive what I was putting out. Because here's the thing: we all have different ways to come back home. Psychedelics, plant medicine was a huge one for me because I had so much. My programming was so heavy. Like, guys, I bought in. I was I was fully bought in, even though I always knew that There was something more, and I was always drawn to ancient wisdom, hermetic principles, spiritual wisdom. I always devoured that stuff. I always loved magic. I always had a feeling that that was there, but I was so bought in, and I was so like that people pleaser, Mr. Nice Guy, gotta fit in. Like that's the most important thing to me. Surrender my authenticity and become a shell of myself. And it was hilarious because every time I would drink alcohol, like in high school and college, it got rid of that filter and I was my authentic self and it was so much fun. And then I wouldn't remember a lot of it, but people would tell me the next day, like, dude, you were so funny last night. Because I didn't have any, I wasn't, I had no box around me anymore from the subconscious level. It cleared that out. Now, alcohol will lower your vibration. I'm not saying to do that anymore because you want to get there sober, really. And you might need to give yourself little reminders every now and then. Like for me, I like to do an ayahuasca journey once a year as a tune up to clear energies out to help me anchor back into the truth. And I use psilocybin for the same thing. And I get support in between. I surround myself with people who are also on this path and who energize me and who help me to anchor back to who I am. Um, so, anyways, I had my first um, experience with facing death, which is inevitable for all of us. And again, as I said, death isn't even a thing. It's just our ego mind. Oh my God, we're gonna die someday. It can't perceive our infinite nature. So I had to face off with that. And I had such a big fear and attachment to my physicalness and this identity that it was a horrifying experience to that part of me. And one of the things that I was echoing over and over again was because it was so painful. I was resisting it so much when it was trying to um, kill that part, when it was trying to purge those fears that were tied to that false identity. And I was just gripping so tightly to them. I kept saying, I remember, it doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't need to be like this. And I just kept saying that, which was me in resistance, which is what we do when life is trying to take things away that are keeping you locked into that prison. When life's trying to take away the things that are not for you anymore, that aren't helping you and keeping you stuck and small, um, our ego starts to say things like that, right? That character is like, doesn't need to be like this. Meanwhile, your soul is like, I love you, buddy. Yeah, it does. It's got to be like that. That's why it's happening, right? So instead of resisting it, it's, oh, okay. Life, God, source, universe, take away everything that needs to be taken away that is not who I am. Show me who it is that I am. And then you surrender into that, and then you observe what's moving in your life, what's moving out, and you realize that it's all for you. It's all now being allowed. And so you can trust that everything happening and coming in and leaving is for your highest good. Anything outside of that is crazy, scared ego projection. And people say all the time, I have such a difficult time trusting the unknown. But the unknown is who you are. It's infinite possibility. It's where all of the most beautiful things are that are waiting for you. It's you. But to say that you don't trust is to say, I'm going to hold on to the suffering a little bit longer. To say that you don't trust is to say, I don't accept what's happening in my reality. I'm going to fight against it. And that's all I know how to do. Like an animal backed into a corner. I'm just going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep suffering and I'm going to keep walking further into the darkness. And as we know, that doesn't work. And for many of us, you've got to walk down the hallway of darkness to such a degree that you finally turn back and you realize that is a dead end. It's leading you nowhere. You got to get the hell out of there. It's not working. And that's when you surrender. That's when maybe you look up at the sky with anger towards life, towards God, and be like, I need fucking help right now. Like, why are you doing this to me? Okay, show me. Like it's that rawness, like the emotion behind it, like I'm ready. That's that's how it was for me a little bit. No, it was more of like I looked up at the stars and I was like, all right, show me. I'm done. I'm done playing this stupid game. It's not working. I'm coming back. Come into my heart. Get rid of everything that's not me. Let's fucking do this. There was a lot of intense emotion behind that because I was just so done with living out of my car, spinning my tires, running in circles, just so freaking miserable, watching people around me have a great time, feeling so limited, feeling it feels so terrible to not be the authentic self. It really does. Like that place of insecurity is so dark when you don't know who you are. And so this channel and why I'm doing this and why I'm on the planet and why I had to go through the journey that I did of completely surrendering my authentic self so that I could come back to it. I could find my way back and create the experiences that would bring me back to this sweet, beautiful remembrance of who I am. And all I want to do is share that. All I want to do is create things that are going to help you receive that because channels that I watched on YouTube and people in my life like that had embodied that and went through that journey too, that really helped me. It gave me a model and example for what could be. And then it started to become possible. The seeds of possibility started to germinate and started to take shape and break through the soil as I cultivated a healthy soil, which is um, a really beautiful, positive self inner dialogue encouragement of yourself, eating healthy, getting enough sleep, um, putting your focus on things that make you feel good, that bring joy and make you feel expanded. That creates a soil that allows the plants in your garden to really start to grow. And what kills those plants, what kills that expansion is stress, is worry, is fear, it's limitation. Okay. So when you're looking at what's going on out there and things are breaking down and things seem to not be working anymore, praise that with all of your heart. Realize what's actually going on. See it from zoom out and see it from the bigger picture, and see if you can get to a place of gratitude because this is the blessing. It's happening right in front of you. The breakdown is bringing in that higher potential. It's leading you back to you. It's orchestrated by you from the higher level that your ego doesn't get. And my intention is that you can feel the words and the energy behind the words that I'm saying because I went through this and I remember how brutal it was when I was holding on and I couldn't see things as they were. And I was caught in that limitation program of the small self. That is not you. You are an infinite creator, my beautiful friends. If you're watching this channel, you're here to shine your light and do amazing things in this world. You're here to not be limited, to play the game of breaking out of those shackles and becoming free again. And that is slowing down, that is becoming present, that is recognizing the character that's been trying to run your life, that has been running your life. And as I've said before, this is simply a process of taking that character, you're not killing them, or her, you're putting them into the passenger seat and saying like, all right, that's where you belong. You get to witness, you get to like be part of this, but I'm going to drive, right? The I am is going to drive. God's going to drive now. Okay? Jesus take the wheel is what that is because Jesus is in us. It's the Christ consciousness. It's the I am. It's the oneness. It's not that the man Jesus. It's the embodiment of that energy, that consciousness, that love. That's what's taking the wheel. That's the Yahweh man. That's the way, not the small self way. That's going away. Okay? That's what I got today. I feel like that's where we want to land the plane for now, but I will be coming back to you very shortly with some more just soul material content and I hope you enjoyed this and we're just getting started. You watching this, you're just getting started. You can't even possibly fathom the greatness inside of you. And I'm not even saying that from some emotional rah-rah way. I'm saying you have cosmic greatness in you that is ready to be expressed and unleashed. And the breakdowns, if you're experiencing them, are telling you that that's ready to come out. That's all that that is. See that for the truth. Okay. Wait till you see how good this gets. Wait till you see how much ease, well beingness, stress free, relaxation, peace. Stay in peace. We have a peace contract with God, with the Creator. Rest in peace, not for the dead, for the living. Stay in a peaceful place because that means you're open to receive. The higher mind can get through to you and give you what you're asking for. The directions, the guidance, all the things are there, not in the stressed beta brain running around, rushing. Like that keeps you disconnected. That's why society perpetuates that. That's why the rulers of the control system, that the powers that were, because they are starting to just completely fade away as we all start to open up to this new level of consciousness. They're desperately trying to keep people's minds divided, their focus divided, so that they can't realize that power. So just recognize that and bring yourself back to center when you come out of alignment. Meditate, hone your focus like your life depends on it, because it does. I love you guys. I'm psyched and honored to be on this journey with you. And as always, peace within is peace without. See you soon.